Are you going to do the intro?
Yeah. I'm your host, Damon Jones, and you're listening to the Standard H podcast.
That's so good, man. Many moons ago, previous podcast guest Damon Jones asked if he could interview me for my own podcast. It was fun to discuss the whys behind Standard H, and though this is a first for the podcast, I'm excited for you to hear more of the brand's story. I hope you enjoy it, and if you'd like more content like this, I'd love to know. I hope you all have a happy and safe new year, and thank you so much for listening. Here's our conversation. Well, let's do it. The roles have reversed.
It's a bit of a twist this time.
Yeah.
So I think I was episode 46.
Okay.
And I was trying to work out when I did it, and I think it was a year and a month ago, November. Right. You'll know more than me.
So that means we would have met 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it took about a year to get together.
Yeah. And here we are a year and a bit later.
Right.
Reversing it. Because we always said we'd do a second podcast.
That's true.
But so the reason why I wanted to explain why I wanted to do it this way was, so I always really enjoy hearing all the stories about all your guests.
Right.
But I always feel like I wish you had the opportunity to do it yourself. So to tell everyone your story. Right. And I think this is the perfect sort of way to do it.
Well, what's funny is I'm totally flattered that you would even want to hear my story. And yeah, no, I'm here for it. What's funny is that I often don't tell my guests the questions that I'm going to ask. Very infrequently, they ask me what I'm going to be asking. Yeah. And my response to them is typically, listen, it's going to be very casual. You don't really need to know what the questions are, because if you don't know your story, I have a bigger problem on my hands. So if you don't know the answers to these questions, we're both in trouble.
And you never asked me any questions before, so.
Yeah, no. And so I have no idea what you're about to ask me, but that's exactly the way I'd want it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go?
Let's do it.
So, I think my first question, remember some of these questions I know the answer to, but I wanted to ask you some questions that I feel like everyone would enjoy hearing the answers to.
Cool.
So the very first question is, so the Standard H logo.
Right.
I know why it looks like that, but I really enjoyed the story when we spoke about it. And I'd love you to share that with everybody.
Yeah, so basically I was one of the managers at a Gucci boutique.
I was going to ask you a question about this actually.
Yeah.
So were you still there when Tom Ford was there?
No.
He'd already left.
No, he had left Gucci years before.
Oh, he had.
Yeah, because this was 2014.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I joined Gucci in 2013. I left in 2015. Yes, 13, left in 15.
I think he left 2004.
Well, I know he came out with his book, I think, the first one, the Black Book,
yes.
I think in 2004.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he just came out with his second book that just released this year, maybe last month, 2 months ago. It's white. It's called 002. And anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
Can I tell you a Tom Ford story? Although this is about you.
Yeah.
I really want to tell you a story. So
I'm obsessed with Tom Ford.
So when we were in New York, have I told you this? No,
I don't think so.
So
you saw his house?
Yeah, but I also saw him.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me that.
So we were outside his house, and I was taking a photo because his house is a famous house. Right. And as I was taking a photo, there was somebody moving a lamp, and I started to think maybe he's moving the lamp for a better photo. So he moved and adjusted the lamp, and my photo looked better as a result of him moving the lamp. And then I saw him pour a drink, and Ellen informed me that he doesn't drink any alcohol. Right. But it looked like a bottle of wine, so maybe he had a guest. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, he bought the Halston house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that 63rd?
Yeah.
Or something? I can't remember. It's Upper East Side, I know.
So we were there. Yeah, we saw the house. It was undergoing quite a lot of renovation. Right. So we need to return. But yeah, we saw Tom Ford's arm through the window.
Incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the podcast.
The regular schedule programming. So I was at Gucci. Well, first of all, I should back up and say that I started to get into fashion, so to speak, and apparel and that kind of thing in high school. like my latter years of high school. So at the time, I was working in a surf shop. So I was always surrounded by those types of clothes. You know, my first job was a bike shop. Then I went into a surf shop. And then my freshman year of college, I started working at J. Crew, which was sort of my intro into, dare I say, more expensive, but, you know, a contemporary price point. And anyway, long story short, I ended up moving to LA in 2007, and through work and promotions, got promoted to be a manager of a store in San Diego for James Perse. I left James Perse for Gucci, and it was all this time I've like wanted to start my own apparel brand. In fact, I took an entrepreneurship course at NC State, and for my business plan for my final was to write a business plan, and it was for an apparel brand. More skate, surf, kind of extreme sports, if you will.
Would you say the companies that you work for were a bit of part of the strategy in that term of teaching you?
No, not at all. In fact, it's funny you should say that, because as a result of working for the brands that I've worked for, I've definitely honed my product knowledge and could definitely distinguish good from bad quality, for example. And then just like the types of products, and then understanding, you know, because some of these are kind of heritage brands, right? Like Gucci, very much so. James Perse, less so. But it's kind of the Southern California vibe, the elevated casual vibe of James Perse. And then, you know, the importance of a T-shirt. I mean, nobody elevated the importance of a T-shirt more than James Perse did. So no, they didn't really play a part into Standard H per se, but I knew I wanted to start a brand. I was really into surfing, still am. I love Southern California. And frankly, I thought of this idea to get a Volkswagen van and like upfit it to be a mobile store effectively. And in doing a Google search, I came across some images, and for whatever reason, the like Standard H, like it was like an overhead view of the transmission with the gear lever, like where it would go into. What's funny is I'm not very mechanically sound when it comes to engine building and transmissions and, you know, the transfer cases and things like that. And like, I don't know anything about that stuff. Like I am completely driven by aesthetics. And obviously I'm understanding, like I can understand performance and things like that, but like I couldn't change the oil in your Macan if I tried, you know what I mean? And so it was this overview of the gear, and the pattern was the same. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. So these they shift on a Standard H. And I was like, oh, because at the time I didn't know what to call it. I knew I wanted it to be automotive inspired. And as a result, I was like, well, Standard H. So like literally the very next Google search was, you know, Standard H LLC to see if it's taken, you know, and gladly it wasn't. What's funny though, as a side note to that same Google search, I also was like wanting Standard H, the URL, but it's taken. So the reason my URL has a hyphen in it, which is obnoxious, I know, is because Standard Hydrogen Corporation owns Standard H. And trust me, I have reached out to them to try to buy it from them, and they will not reply.
It's like me with www.damon.com is the motorcycle company bought it.
Right.
Like, damn.
Yeah. You snooze, you lose, I guess. But like, you know, so at any rate, when I found this like company name epiphany, when I found this photo, I was on my lunch break in the office back in the back of the store at Gucci. And I like immediately looked for something circular. Cause like, I mean, I could have freehand a circle, sure. But I was like, my paperclip holder full of paper clips, I literally just dumped them all out, put the holder face down and traced it, and then hand drew the actual shift gate pattern. And for whatever reason, that was the other thing, is that like right when I saw the shift pattern, I immediately saw the S where the reverse was. And I knew, like in my brain, I stripped away the numbers from the gear shift. so that it would be standard H as a logo. For whatever reason, I just saw it that way. And having, sketched that quickly at my desk, I went home that night. And at the time I was living with my good buddy Andrew, who was actually a graphic artist. He's a graphic designer. And I was like, hey man, and this is like, I'm terrible with computers, by the way. So it is not lost on me the irony that I have a digitally native business, because it's like, I'm the wrong person to be running the ship. So I took it back to the apartment. Andrew was up in his room doing some work or whatnot. And I was like, hey dude, like I need some help. And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, can you digitize this for me? And he was like, you mean vectorize? And I was like, I don't know what it's called. Can you like put it in the computer?
Did he know what it was for, or did you explain? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, dude, I think I found my logo, that kind of
yeah.
thing, or something to that effect. And he
and
was like,
and that's the logo today.
Yeah, that's the logo today. And he's the one that digitized it for me. And I still have that file on my computer.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story of the Shift logo, which is now the Garage Collection, if you will.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Right, so I kind of, in what I do, I always say to you that I feel you and me a lot of the time. So when I see you deliver things and how you do them and how you go about doing them, I do see lots of similarities. So I kind of enjoy asking these questions. And one thing I wanted to ask was, talk about a product. It can be any product that Standard H has done, but one that you really liked, and talk us through how it started. Maybe what was the inspiration behind it, and how you took it from being that concept design all the way through to being in the Standard H store. And I kind of really like to know understand the process of how you tackle it.
Sure. Well, first of all, you and I are both like suckers for details, and we're always trying to make things better, I feel like. And first and foremost, I wanted an automotive inspired line of apparel to be one that existed in details primarily. And what I mean by that is not a company drawing cars on the front of t-shirts. Like, how many more adult men need to be in cargo shorts at a Cars and Coffee with a hand-drawn Land Rover Defender on their chest or a Mustang, for example. And it's not a knock at those brands. It's that I wanted automotive inspiration to be in the details of the construction, right? So like the Avanti, for example, I really wanted to have that level of product, meaning the quality, the fit, the finish, and oh, by the way, my silhouette. Whereas like the Shift logo stuff in the Garage Collection, I mean, it's not brain surgery. I mean, a 12-year-old can start that company. And I can back up and say, when I created the logo, I got such positive feedback from the logo that I fell into, and I think I've said this before on the pod, where like I fell into, as a matter of fact, I know I've said this on the pod. I fell into what I call chasing demand, where I thought people wanted the logo. So I just started slapping that thing on everything, like hats and t-shirts and, all kinds of stuff, right? That's never what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be Quicksilver, right? Or Billabong, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so finally, after thankfully selling a lot of products with logos on them, which was great. And I'm still, I'm wearing a Shift logo trucker right now. Like I pretty much wear one of these hats every single day. But I also don't like to double dip, as I like to say. Like I didn't want to wear a logo t-shirt with a logo hat, because then, I don't know, it just I felt ridiculous.
Just played its part.
Right. So I always wanted to develop something higher end anyway, and something of like really great quality. So I basically wanted to create the t-shirt that I would love to wear that could also be worn with a certain amount of utility, right? Like I always liked a pocket tee because I've never enjoyed hanging my sunglasses from the neck of my shirt.
I'm not going to tell you yet, but you have to remind me to tell you my story about your t-shirt.
About the pocket?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll remind you.
me.
Okay. So so I knew I wanted to start there. So then it was like, it was less solving a problem, and I use that in quotation marks, than it is literally just making products that I want as a person, as a consumer. And a lot of shirts are really soft, a lot of shirts are really thin, a lot of shirts are thicker. What I've found historically is that thicker shirts don't feel as good to the hand as thinner shirts do. But then I also understand that if you live in Southern California and it's 85 degrees outside and you're having a beer at a baseball game, you might start sweating. And what is lost on a lot of people is that a thinner shirt will actually stick to you more than a thicker shirt will. So that is, and I really love substantial feeling products. Like I love slamming a car door and hearing a thud.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I use the word slamming lightly, but I like that thud. German cars all have that thud, right? Like I don't like the ping of like a Honda Civic historically. Yeah. It just doesn't sound as though it's built well, let alone built well. But I'm sure they're crash tested and fine. And I wanted to crash test t-shirts effectively, right? Like I wanted them to stand the test of time. That I wanted them to be tank-like in that sense. And then also, I travel a lot, as do you. I'm loading the overhead compartment often. I did see an issue of a lot of men loading the overhead compartment and having their stomach like right in my face.
Yes. Yeah.
And I borrowed the design cue, so I can't take credit for it. But the gusset that the Avant tees have is completely functional as borrowed from an ice climbing jacket, where you're constantly with your arms up without creating lift in the garment. And so that's exactly why I designed the shirt the way that I did. And then I also wanted to I knew there wasn't going to be a logo on these, right? Because I'm not a huge logo fan, right? Like I wanted something pretty under the radar, if you will. Which part of it's a nod to James Pearce, I'll admit. But the little tab on the left side is very James Pearce-like. I don't know who did it before him, but I know a lot of people have done it since. And
the little tag reminds me of my door handles on the GT4.
Okay, so thank you for saying that, because that's exactly the inspiration. And that was the other thing, is like, how do I make these automotive inspired, right? And for my tab, I didn't want an H on it, like from a lettering, from like a branding perspective. And gray is a very versatile color. I love gray. I'm obsessed with gray. My wife's obsessed with gray. I also, like you, wear a ton of black. So there would be a little bit of a contrast without it being stark white.
Yes.
And then I also wanted it, I was mulling this over for months as to like, how can I brand this t-shirt without a logo? And I was like, I can't remember if I was watching a YouTube video. Oh, I know what it was. I was having my car detailed by former podcast guest Wes Walls at Elite Finish Detailing. And he had a GT3 RS in his shop that was getting a wrap on it. And the door handles are fabric.
Yeah.
So all the lightweight door handles in those types of cars, much like your GT4, have a fabric or like a webbing detail to for lightweight purposes historically, but now it's almost just kind of a design cue, which is brilliant in my opinion. And I was like, I wonder if I could find something that mimics that well, that isn't too thick, it could stand up in the wash, etc.
And for me, it feels like it is exactly the same material. Yeah.
Well, and especially when it's shrunken down, because if you saw a very large one, it wouldn't feel the same. No. But that's what is also very interesting about proportion, and like how things can not only appear differently visually, but feel differently to your hand. And so those types of things, those were all like very conscientious decisions.
So before you went to any form of prototype, you obviously considered improving all the things that you hadn't liked in all the other t-shirts before you.
Yeah, and another item that I left out, frankly, was the neck itself.
Yes.
So I saw a lot of manufacturers in the fashion space and menswear space go from historically making like a ribbed neck, which I always thought looked really clean, a little bit more elevated. And they all started moving towards made. So in the fabric, if the fabric in the neck is the same as the shirt, the industry term is it's made from self, as opposed to made from a rib, for example, like a 1x1 rib. So all of these companies started shifting to things that are made from self. Now, there's a couple different rationales behind that. One of them is less waste, which is fair enough. But another one is it's cheaper because you don't have to buy a trim. You just use what you already bought. Yeah. And to me, I kind of thought the latter was a way to cut a corner as opposed to creating something visually appealing. Now, it's out for, the jury's out. It's a debatable thing, and for me, I missed those t-shirts that were made with a rib. Now, there are plenty of people that still make one with a rib, but I saw a few today actually at my friend's shop. But they're all like very casual looking shirts based on the fabric they're made from, the proportion of that rib, how thick that neck is. I feel like the standard H Avant tee can absolutely dress up, dress down.
Yeah.
And use it as a layering piece.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been wearing mine for meetings and everything, really, to be honest. And I got the black one. I haven't got it on now, but I wore it yesterday. But the funny story that I wanted to share with you was, so
is this the pocket story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't need to remind you.
Yeah, so I reminded myself.
Okay.
So I was going for a coffee. I sat down, and Ellen was taking a photo of me of drinking a coffee for whatever reason, and she sent me the photos on that evening, and you'll laugh. I'll show you the photo. So I have in fact, I'll show you now.
Okay.
It's funnier to see. So I was pretty much wearing your t-shirt with my sunglasses hooked on the neck.
Oh, shit.
And not in the pocket.
That's sacrilege.
Which obviously was, it's funny because that was the whole point of the design. There you go. Look at that.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah.
So that's changed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, so back to the process and all these things, right? The other thing is I wanted to create a larger pocket to do just that, and that's put my sunglasses in them, because I didn't like suspending them from the neck, as I said, but more importantly, so many pocket t-shirts evolved into just like this ornamentation. It was just like something to put on, like you could barely fit a condom in some of these pockets.
And the pockets they didn't even hold sunglasses anyway, did they?
Well, that's what I'm saying, like it was just kind of purposeless.
Yeah,
it was nothing more than ornamentation. And I was like, there needs to be function.
You put your passport, I read in yours, didn't you?
So I measured a passport, and I wanted that to also be able to fit in there perfectly, because I know as I'm getting older, a lot of my friends are getting older. A lot of them have children, and I can't imagine being on an international trip at the gate checking in with like
phones
toddlers
and everything else,
and you're juggling all this stuff. Just easy. And in fact, if you're one of the ancient people who still prints your boarding pass, that will also fit as well without falling out. And that was the other thing, is that I wanted a pocket deep enough that I could bend over and tie my shoe and not have my sunglasses fall out. Yeah. So there was that. And these were all important aspects to a t-shirt, which is, these aren't just t-shirts to someone like me or even maybe somebody like you. And I mean, I wear these every day, like every single day, right?
You've designed the perfect t-shirt, not just for you as well, for considering all the things that people get annoyed with t-shirts.
Well, and I hate that term, to be honest with you. When people say like, oh, well, this is the perfect t-shirt, because it's always in GQ, it's always in Esquire, but God knows my body is not shaped like another person wearing a medium or a large, you know what I mean? And so like, I really don't want to be associated with that. Like I gave a lot of effort into the fit. However, I will say I went through 4 fit samples, which is at least double what most people will do. And I also like the classic styling of a polo hitting you mid bicep. Well, these t-shirts pretty much hit. I feel like this is just one big advert for the Avanti, but this is the process that I went through, right? So like,
no, I think the reason why I asked this question was I wanted to, last time we spoke, I said that a lot of the time we'll put something out. I think we may even have said it on the podcast about Amazon. You know, like I think people think, hey, Wes bought 20 t-shirts on Amazon, stuck a logo inside the back for a label and sold them. We clearly didn't.
Right.
We put an awful lot of work into it, but you know, a lot of people unfortunately don't read or don't listen, and they won't know how much effort you put into these t-shirts and the reasoning behind. So when I did a post on your t-shirt recently, I really liked the card that you supplied with the t-shirt, and I read it from start to finish, and it really made me feel like, you know, I wanted to wear it. It felt special.
Right.
But the, you know, so much thought had gone into it, you know, and then I always think, I always laugh like I do when I do my own things about the price point. You look at the price and you think the amount of hours and the time, the months or the years you spend,
double.
it should be $1,000 or something. But you can't obviously charge that. Right. But because you're passionate about your products and you want it to be successful and you want it to be high quality. So I get it.
Well, I'll be honest, the price was, I mean, I went on for weeks of searching other people's websites and understanding what my costs were. Because, you know, you don't get just one thing from one supplier. Like my neck labels come from a different place, that the branding label, the little tab on the bottom, that comes from somewhere completely different, you know? So that was the other thing is like, you know, my best friend who lives in Texas, Chris, he's shout out to Chris. He's constantly like being like, dude, like you're in LA all the time. And I was like, well, frankly, I'm not up here as often as you think, but I am up here a lot.
Yeah.
And so in developing those shirts, man, like, yeah, I was up here constantly because I'm also the type of person too, that like, I hate computers, as I've kind of alluded to. I need to see things in person. I need to touch them, feel them, understand like what they're going to feel like, how they interact with one another, etc. So all those things, it just takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Like, do you like the people person side of it? Like the kind of, I mean, some people must get a sample sent to them, I don't know, from China or something. They see it, they like it, they put an email together, adjust this, send it back and get the next one. I can't do that. I feel like you're the same, where you need to have that people contact, talk about it, understand it in person.
Ideally,
like
yes.
that? Yeah.
Ideally, that's exactly how I'd like every situation to unfold. And for no other reason than there's no misinterpretation of information, right? Like we will look at the tape measure together and say, this is 1/8 of an inch, you know, as opposed to, well, 1/8 of an inch, but where did you start from? Like, where did the measurement start?
Where the tape measures calibrated together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Right. And so that shift knob that I designed that like is actually threaded on the bottom and you can use it in a car. That, I mean, honestly, that product almost gave me an aneurysm. Like, I'm not joking. You can ask my wife. Like, I'm not a very violent person, but like I really wanted to throw my laptop on a multitude of occasions. Yeah. And I mean, it was just like crazy. Like the people, honestly, the product is good. The quality of their work was good.
Yeah.
But their customer service was dreadful. It was the worst experience I've ever had. So I'll absolutely never work with them again.
No.
But going back to your original question of like, what's the process? I can assure you it's not always easy and it's very, very difficult. And then with the Avanti, for example, like delays, you know, I was doing this during COVID.
Yeah.
So like production delays, like I think I launched those spring of this year and they were supposed to launch like mid 2020 almost.
Are you okay now with the supply chain? Because I mean, a lot of people I work with are still struggling with supply chain.
You know, it depends on the product. I've been working on some golf accessories that are going to launch here in the next week. Actually, when this comes out, they'll have launched. And I've teased them on my Instagram and stuff anyway. There's been, the only supply chain issue I have faced with those is literally just the cost of shipping, because now it just costs an arm and a leg to ship. That's been the biggest thing for me, but that's also the beauty of producing products in my backyard. Like things being made here in the United States is an enormous asset. Whereas like other people that are producing in Asia or Europe, for example, man, I don't know what they're doing. Well, I know what they're doing. They're waiting a long time.
It's like waiting a long time, as you say. Delivery has gone up like astronomical prices, and then customs and things go missing a lot. I mean, I've had things not arrive and just go missing.
I mean, there have been containers falling off ships and sinking to the bottom of the ocean with tens of thousands of goods. Like, that's a nightmare. Yeah.
So it's good to keep things at home. It's easier to manage, and I'm with you on that one for sure.
Yeah, and I think just like for the record, like it's not that I look at made in the USA as necessarily better, right? I think it's completely contingent on the product you're working on.
I agree.
So if I were manufacturing a Gore-Tex jacket, there's not a chance in hell I'd be. You can't do that here.
No.
You like physically can't. That I'm aware of. I think Vancouver or Toronto might be the closest to the US producing stuff like that. I know in Canada you can have stuff made, but we just don't do it well here. Like we do natural fibers extremely well. Cotton t-shirts and things like that, we're the best. And I'll hang my hat on that any day of the week.
Cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What else have we got then on my question list? So I'm still on products. So I'm going to share a gift with you, but it's not a gift because you actually bought it from me, which I really appreciate that you bought one of my creations. But it kind of segues nicely into my next question. So it's and actually when you said you were going to throw your laptop, I also felt that as well. So it's a little bit like when I just shipped my last product. It's and I kind of feel like I already know the answer, but I want to kind of get under your skin on this one.
All right.
In that you talked about it as we were walking into the podcast about packaging.
Right.
Packaging being very different to the actual product.
Sure.
So, you spent months and months or years developing a product, and then you've finished it, and then you have to think about the packaging, because it's so important, as you know, the product's got to arrive safely. It's got to look well presented and everything else. It is it's like another design project for me. And every time I've been trying to design things in terms of packaging, it's funny, I get very frustrated because we were doing it the other day, we were packing these 50 pins up, I was pulling my hair out, shouting and screaming, cutting sellotape that was not quite straight and having to cut it again. I got through rolls and rolls of sellotape and paper just when people receive their products, I didn't just chuck it in the box and hope it got there.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to see, and I feel like you're the same, as in, because when I received my t-shirt, I really liked how it was presented when I opened the box. So my question really was, because every product that I do is pretty much different,
right?
And every product you seem to do is different. The packaging is a complete new project.
Yeah.
How do you go about sort of designing how you're going to send that safely? Because some products go overseas, I'm sure. So do you know what I mean? So how do you think about it? So let's do something, not a t-shirt. Let's do the gear knob.
Right.
How would you ship it, and how have you been shipping it, and how did you go about thinking about that?
Well, there's like so many things I want to say based on what you just articulated, because like we won't talk about what you and I were talking about because I know it's yet to be released.
Yes.
However, let's say cologne.
Yes.
If you're Tom Ford, right, making expensive cologne, the product is the juice inside, so to speak. It's the scent, right? It's the oils or whatever. That's the product.
Yes.
The packaging you're referring to, I think, is like how you package it in a box.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about earlier was more about bottles. So that's why if I'm thinking of cologne, the cologne's the product, but the cologne bottle definitely, that is a whole thing. That's what sells, right? Like, yes, the scent absolutely sells. But like a cologne's bottle, if it doesn't look right, like you're probably not going to do very well, no matter how good it smells. Unless you literally just don't care. Yeah,
when we get drawn to it by the look of it, don't we?
Of course.
And then we like the smell of it.
Yeah.
And then so my question really as well was more, I like this answer as well, but I like the talking of the actual box.
Yeah, so and honestly, I kind of owe it really to Ralph Lauren, because if you ever shop on Ralph Lauren's website and you order something, I don't care if it's a $80 shirt that is on sale for $7.99, and you get it shipped to you, it's wrapped the same way it would have been at $80, or if it's $800 if you order like a suede jacket or something. Their packaging is all custom. Now, I am not there yet with Standard H that I can afford to do something like that. However, what I did is I wanted everything to look really clean, and I wanted, again, to be substantial, right? Like, I want you to feel like your money's going somewhere great.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a white box as a shipping box. Shipping labels are also white. So it was very conscientious, or it is very conscious of me to choose a white box. It's also the background color of the signature collection. So the neck labels in my shirts are white with black lettering. So it's very much on brand. I then chose white paper on the inside. And so people know, because why shouldn't they? I loved the thick paper that Ralph used.
Yes.
His paper's brown.
Yeah.
I didn't want brown because it was a little too industrial looking, which I'm kind of surprised he uses brown, but it looks great because he has like this blue sticker and whatever. Well, I wanted a white box with white paper with a white sticker that looks like the same almost proportions as my neck label, because it's all cohesive, right? It all has to be a part of the same story. Now, what I found was a great thickness of paper was deli meat, like butcher paper.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Okay,
It's literally white butcher paper that you can buy in bulk. And I have this huge thing in my guest room that I literally... Oh, so you cutting the cellophane or whatever you were saying?
Yeah.
I can't tell you the times of frustration where I don't rip the paper, because I bought a cutter
And
for
then you have
it.
to do it again. Yeah.
But the cutter doesn't run like a normal paper cutter. Like, you have to pull it by hand
Yes.
to tear it.
Yeah.
It'll either come out jagged if you pull it at the wrong angle or with too much tension, or it'll tear beautifully but crooked. So that's another mind fuck, you know? Yeah. So then you're just like, literally, where's my laptop? I got to throw it.
I can just picture you
Yeah.
in your room doing this.
In my guest room.
It feels like me doing it as well. Like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why isn't this working?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think the funny thing about this as well is when people receive their product, some people don't even care about the packaging. They just want what's inside. Some people will look at it and go, oh my God, is this all I'm getting? Like, but actually... you hit the nail on the head when you said about budget. You know, we're not Ralph Lauren, and you know, and sorry everyone if you didn't like the box we sent, kind of thing. But we actually did still go to a lot of trouble where, you know, the amount of times. I mean, I could have done 5 or 6 times trying to get it right. 100%. You know, and then there'd be a piece of hair that falls out my beard and lands on a sticky label, and
right?
Something like that. and then you're like, shit, I do it all again. And it's just, you know, we are trying, kind of thing. But it's interesting.
It's so real. Everything you just said is so real.
And I like your handwritten notes as well. So I'm a big fan of that, because
I'm just old school like that.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, do you know? I think the reason why we both the same like that is that when I write a note, I feel like, you know, someone's going to open the box. It wasn't like my mom that wrote it. I wrote it, and I made this product for you. And you should feel more connected to the fact that I hand wrote it. And I felt that when you wrote your note to me.
Well, thank you.
I really like that.
I know. I appreciate you saying that. You know, and it's kind of funny. Back to the paper thing real quick. When I interviewed Adrian Barker for the second time, yeah. He also has an Avanti, and he was like, it was wrapped so well that like I like slid the t-shirt. I
did exactly the same.
I kind of tapped.
I've still got the piece of paper.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't want to wrinkle it.
Yeah.
He's like, it was just like, it looked too nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? On one hand,
just tear it open.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, cause it's like a gift, right? But, so there's like almost 3 things, like either rip it open, or just like, I'm almost like feel bad, right? Like, because I'm like, wow, like now you don't even want to touch what you ordered.
Yeah.
But then on the same note, it's kind of like, I'm so glad you want to treat it delicate.
He saw it as
it's like a Rolex watch.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, people are going to treat them, they're going to handle it with kid gloves, especially on day one.
Yeah.
But you know that thing's built to get thrashed. You know what I mean? And and that's exactly You know, it's funny. And then another guest was Jason Heaton. And the first day he wore his shirt, he spilled gear oil, his Land Rover gear oil on his shirt. And I was like, you know what? I had somebody else who will remain nameless say like, didn't that piss you off that he like chose to wear your shirt, like to change his oil? I was like, that's exactly what these things are made for. Yeah. They're made to be worn just like a watch, right? Like beat it up, get your own patina on it. Or in Jason's case, it has now a unique scent, you know? And I love it. Like everybody's going to have their own story, right? Yeah, and like great. Every time he changes his oil, who knows? Maybe he'll think of keeping his shirt cleaner.
Exactly. I mean, I'm one of those strange people as well that, I mean, my parents will send me a birthday present and I'll keep the wrapper because it's I'm a bit strange, but I like my mom's handwriting. She doesn't live here.
Oh,
you know,
right.
I'm that kind of thing. And seeing, I think if you see a printed label, so say you'd printed your note to me, you typed it and printed it, it still would have been nice to receive.
Sure.
But it wouldn't have felt like maybe anyone could have typed it kind of thing. I know that you wrote it. So I like the fact that you created something and you wrote it. You're the brand. You are Standard H, and that's why. I mean, people think, oh, should the handwriting be tidier? No, because that's your handwriting.
Well, that's like the wabi sabi of it all, right? But then I was also raised in a house where like my parents wanted me to write thank you notes to like my grandparents for my Christmas presents.
Yes,
things like that, like. Which is not, I mean, they're family. Like, why do I owe them a thank you note? You know, but that was just how I was raised. And
I think
then,
if you were born now, you wouldn't, I mean, it doesn't really happen anymore, this kind of thing.
No, but if I had children, I would definitely be telling them to do so.
You would tell
if
them.
For no other reason than to say no one does this, you know? And this is part of the reason I do it is because I like that romanticism. I like that handwritten thing, to your point. It's like it gives you a feeling of warmth that is no longer found.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like watching an old movie, you know, like just the way certain clothes or lighting or it's just different.
I like as well that you drop a few things in there, like I actually not copied you, but I actually took inspiration from you on this. I dropped a few things in occasionally. It depends who they are. Like if you have a regular customer that's really supported you and you really like them, occasionally they might get an extra gift in there. And I started dropping a few things in there, a couple of stickers here and there and whatever else.
Oh, 100%.
Because I think, I mean, I've felt it when I open your box. It's like you feel that, oh my God, like I didn't buy all this, but it feels so good. Like it feels nice.
And you know, I think part of that is thoughtful. Well, thank you again for saying that. But for me, it's again, I want every client to feel as though they're valued.
It's like part of the Standard H family, are you?
Sorry?
You're part of the Standard H family kind of thing.
Of course you are. Yeah. You know, and I think I love community. Like we all do. Like we as humans are pack animals, you know, like, I mean, that's why brands are brands, you know, that's why people wear brand to be a part of a clique as much as I hate to say it, but I'm not trying to start a clique or a cult or anything like that. But like, surrounding myself with like-minded people who are doing good in the world and hopefully like giving to charity from time to time and understanding how lucky we are. And I'm getting off track here, but
that's fine. Carry on.
That's completely left-hand turn from the stickers that I include in the box, you know. But you know what's funny is like I've actually no longer make certain T-shirts, and this is a little glimpse behind the curtain, so to speak. Some of these shirts are not even listed on my website anymore.
And people ask for them. So
from time to time, if you're a good customer, I might sneak an extra shirt in there in your size because I now know your size, first of all. Or like, let's say like you spent a bunch of money on my website and like, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only say thank you so many times in a thank you note. But I could also be like, you know what? Like, I can't thank you enough. So here's some extra stuff because like you deserve it, I guess. Like, I mean, one would argue that they don't because they are getting the goods that they paid for, right? But like, to me, it's just like I feel so indebted, to be honest.
Well, it's from the heart. It feels good.
I don't know where it's from.
Yeah,
I don't. Maybe I feel guilty. Like no. Honestly, it's not a guilty place. It's definitely from the heart. This is what I want to do, and this is the brand that I want to grow, and I want it to be successful.
How do you feel when? And I've seen it because you repost them. How do you feel when someone reposts something? Like it's been happening to me today, even with the latest pin. People start to repost the pins. I feel like so taken aback when I see it, and I feel when you repost, it's like someone's proud to receive one of your percent H products.
100%.
How do you feel?
I mean, it makes me feel like $1 million first and foremost, but I will say, and this is not a complaint, it's just the reality of it. My biggest customers don't have Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
It's not much to post.
Well, and it's also like, I wish they would share it because it would help grow the business. You know what I mean? But and back to your note card thing, like it's kind of interesting. Like I think about the handwritten note often with regards to scalability. Like how could I keep this up?
Well, and this is actually another question I had.
Yeah.
So we, as much as you want to at the moment, we can handwrite a note, and packing 250 Lego kits was hard work personally with my own hands. But we can't do it one day if things go according to plan.
Right. I dread the thought too of that day.
Yeah.
When somebody says, oh man, like I really miss the days of Standard H.
I miss the Wes notes.
Yeah. And so maybe it becomes a function of not if, but just when, you know, like maybe I just don't do it with every package. I just do it if and when I have the time. I'm not there yet.
You mean you wouldn't quality inspect every parcel that's left?
Well, honestly, like eventually I would like to hire some help, to be honest, because like I'm like kind of at my wit's end as we speak, like just from a time allocation standpoint, which is a positive problem. Like I'm very well aware and very thankful, but I do like, yes, like editing a podcast. Like I would love to hire an editor.
Yeah.
There are some tidbits which maybe we'll talk about later that I would like to start a YouTube channel that I've already started a YouTube channel. Not to get too far ahead. I don't even know what you're asking me, but if you're going to ask me if you're going to ask me what's next, it's YouTube, but it's not. Yeah. Like I'm not a YouTuber. I don't even want to be in front of the camera. This is why I host a podcast. So for me, I think it's those types of things, but like I also have to be cognizant that like, well, eventually like the production value is going to have to be great. And I'm going to need a cameraman or woman. I'm going to need an editor.
You need to be doing, the business development side as well. You can't be doing all that.
Well, that's my favorite part anyway. It is. The creative is literally my favorite part. My least favorite part is Instagram. Like, I think that I enjoy Instagram for what it is. I enjoy following people like you and seeing what you and Ellen are up to. And like, that's all fun. And, I love liking the photos and commenting and saying, hey, nice Avanti. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it's just one of those things where like for entertainment, it's great. But for business, it's obnoxious because I know I have to have it. And I never want to be doing anything I have to do just because I have to do it. It's minutia at that point.
I gotcha. Right, I'm going to give you your gift, which you paid for.
Oh, right.
And I haven't wrapped it because it's.
Oh no, it's all good. It's
not.
Good.
It's not being shipped, but yeah.
So I mean, this is also why I was like, carbon footprint. I'm already here. So
exactly.
This is so brilliant. So Haley's 912. It's a white pen on a note card, and this stems from a house that's a mid-century house that you took a photo of
3 years ago.
It's the Haley residence, right?
Yeah.
So what year was the house?
Oh my God, you're asking me now. 1959, I think.
Oh, you know what? It's on the back here. Haley residence, 1950. Yeah, it's a Neutra.
So 3 years ago, I took a picture of this house, and it became like, to this day, it's still my most successful print I've ever sold.
Yeah, because you sell your prints.
And another one sold the other day. It just keeps selling. It's actually, I think I mentioned before, it's in a gallery at the moment that they're selling it as well. So it's obviously, it meant a lot for what I've been doing.
Right.
And then I obviously like Porsches as well, of course. And that happened to be outside the day I took the photo, and actually is the owner's car. So
that's amazing.
It felt right to do this, and I'm pleased that you've got one of the 50 as well. So they started being today's the first day that everyone started receiving them. So you got yours the day one as well.
I'll post this on my stories.
Yeah, and there's a couple of stickers in there I threw in.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I love it, and I feel like I'm about to make a prediction.
Yeah.
So gold is next. You've said. Have you announced that?
Not you. I announced the.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I announced.
I have a prediction though.
Go on then.
Is it the gold 911 that you photographed with Ellen?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all right. I'm wrong. That's cool.
That was a 912.
I'm fine with being wrong.
Yeah. I teased it with a gold clasp picture. But
cool.
Yeah, so that'll be early next year.
Nice.
So the thing I really like about the fact that you have both of the pins released so far.
Yeah.
So you're still in the running.
Well, I have the collector gene.
Yeah.
You know, like I have to get the whole set.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel sorry for the person that's going to have 4 of the 5. But yeah. So
that's
yeah.
right.
So I didn't do your handwritten note either.
Oh, it's fine.
Because I was seeing you.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
No, thank you. It's brilliant too.
So there you go. That's that. So next question. I want to ask you a question actually. Brit Week. Did you enjoy it?
Brit Week. Yeah.
So
really,
I love that you both came, and apologies that I literally spent about 3 minutes with you, but it was busy.
Oh, it's all good.
But I really appreciate that you came. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Brit Week was awesome. I love Aston Martins first and foremost, and in old Bentleys, like the old blower Bentleys and stuff. I think Jay brought his, Jay Leno.
Yeah.
And I used to see his out at like the Country Mart in Malibu when I worked in Malibu.
Yeah.
And they're just such beautiful cars. I mean, there's just such rich history there. Obviously, England being a rich historical nation. And then just the automotive, and then of course like the James Bond implication and stuff like that. But then like Cosworth, the Ford that was there was incredible. Obviously,
Not the Cosworth. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Magnus was there, which you two are like peak Brits, right? Like when it comes to cars. And yeah, it was an amazing turnout. What I love about the Peterson is they always do everything in such a classy way that is also all about the cars, right? Like it doesn't feel like a scene.
No.
It's not like going to, some Cars and Coffees can feel that way.
Yeah.
I still haven't made it up to the one, well, Spike Ferriston and Jerry Seinfeld.
One that doesn't happen.
Right. Secret or whatever. But I still haven't made it. It's too early on a Sunday. It's such a far drive. I'm going to have to drive up like on a Saturday or something to attend it. But back to the point of Peterson is that they just do everything. I mean, even the way they like guide you down and up to the parking garage levels and stuff, it's seamless.
I mean, there was a lot of cars, it could have all gone terribly wrong and it didn't. It went so well.
And it's free.
Yeah, and we all drove out. I mean, I don't know where you watched the cars on the rally as they started, but me being in one of the cars, it was so good to see all the cars from front and behind.
Well, when everybody pulled out of the garage and they I guess went out and took the left, I guess on Fairfax.
Yeah, and lined
what's
up.
funny is I wasn't a part of the motorcade, I guess if you want to call it.
Yeah.
They directed me to the left, and I went around through the neighborhood back towards, I guess it was Pico or Olympic. I can't remember. I think it's Pico. But anyway, I took a right, not knowing that everybody was held up at the light, and they were just all stacking up to do the whole migration to Beverly Hills together.
Yeah.
So then I drove through the intersection and I looked to the right and everybody's lined up. And the only thing I could think about was I don't have my camera ready.
Yes.
But it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you had, McQueen's XKSS there. here's
and the Beverly Hills Police Force, I mean, they did ever so well. Like, yeah, they literally closed the road for the rally, and yeah, it was just seamless, really.
And here's a little Easter egg for you too. I'm gonna be coming out with a product that is inspired by the XKSS.
Oh, okay.
So I'll leave it there.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, 2022.
Hopefully, depending on if I can develop the fabric and make it right.
And you're not too busy packing.
And I'm not too busy packing.
Right, number 5.
We're only on the 5th question.
Actually, no, we've actually
I'm
answered.
so
We've actually
sorry,
answered.
you guys.
We've actually answered. Yes. Is anyone still listening?
Yeah, holy shit. We're 55 minutes into this.
How long we go? 55. Wow. So, okay, let's wrap it up. So,
yeah. So, thanks, guys. Till next time.
See you in a year.
Damon Jones has been hosting.
See you in a year. So, we always talked about it and probably haven't got time, and it would probably never come out because we're both so fussy, but we always talked about doing something together. I'm not suggesting we work out what that is now, but I still like the idea.
We'll need at least 55 minutes for that.
It'll be a 2030 launch.
Yeah.
But I just, so still leaving that in there that, I think it would be, we both love detail. I'm not sure what it would be, but still keep that one alive.
I think it sounds like an incredible idea. I would love to do it. There's a few people I would love to collaborate on. I mean, not just other brands, but like I think people specifically.
Yeah.
I think you're one of them.
Thank you.
I think a lot of that has to do with our affinity for black, obviously.
For sure.
And our aesthetic is very similar.
I mean, you're already collaborating without even realizing it though as well. Because imagine all the people you're using as your vendors and suppliers that you're collaborating there.
Sure.
In that sense.
But I even mean just like creatively.
Oh, I know, I agree, yeah.
But I think the importance isn't just, okay, so like back 10, 12 years ago when I was menswear blogging and all the like the Americana wave hit, and you found these like diabolically opposed brands collaborating on like crazy products, right? That you're just like, God, these two would never work together.
No.
To me, it's almost like, I love that, first of all. Second of all, it's happened way too much.
Yeah.
And so, but what I do enjoy about it even still today is the ability to grow the communities, right? Like,
yes. This is what I want to talk about. This,
yeah.
Do you know? So that pin I just gave you,
sure.
That's a really good example where I always saw it as bringing together the best of all the worlds, but not just bringing them together to hash out a project. Bring one together that was actually really enjoyable, and like the point you just made, where everyone else, not that we're not doing it to grow. Well, you organically grow anyway. Well, sure. But you know what? I love that kind of thing where, so of the pin that I just showed you, there was Sandy, who was a big part of it. She helps me do the design of the cars. House Logos, John, is a guy who pretty much magically turns all these buildings into logos, and they're everywhere. I mean, they're fantastic. Check out his page. But those, I can't draw those logos. I can draw a car, but not as good as Sandy. And I'm being the creative one where I'm bringing all the pieces together, but I still have got to make the pin. I've still got to design the pin. And the thing there is bringing it all together that felt like a team. And it really was enjoyable. We all had a great time doing it and seeing the finished article now. But the thing I loved most about it was that people on probably John's page are talking to Sandy's page. I'm talking to Sandy's, but we're all talking to each other. And then your followers maybe follow their followers, and everyone's enjoying it now.
Of course.
And I really like that. So that's the collaboration, isn't it?
You hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly what it's all about, in my opinion. And the other thing too, going back to like developing products, is like when you develop a pen like that, like that is one detailed pen for the size that it is. Because it's
1.5 inches
I was
long.
going to say it's just over an inch
I mean,
long.
look at the wheel. So this takes you to the detail that we were talking about before, that's a lot of detail for something so small, and it took me a long time. And that's that thing where people look at it and think, I didn't buy a pin on Amazon. That's ground up from a white piece of paper, drawn out pin.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I just went through this process with my ball coins that I'm going to be releasing for standard age golf, which isn't going to be a major component of the business. It's just, I love golf, and there's some automotive inspiration by way of the 356 steering wheel, and I just thought it was really cool. And so I did the Cloisonne coins that are like the enamel filled and like that sort of vintagey, timeless style that you've done with these pens. And like, the other thing I wanted to say is like and this, I guess, really goes back to proportion as well, is like some packages of products like your car here, you can involve such details, but then there's others where like sometimes stripping away detail is like, there are these parameters that like, and a lot of times you don't even realize what they are. Like, not to be such a Rolex fanboy, but like if you go and you look at like the modern Pepsi GMT that they produce, like the reason why a lot of the times, like rumor has it anyway, a lot of the time was spent trying to develop that bezel, right? Because like they couldn't get the colors right between red and blue when doing that ceramic bezel. If it were steel or like aluminum or whatever, I mean, it's old hat, you just do it again, right? But like Rolex is brilliant at constantly pushing the envelope to making their stuff better, i.e. resilient or what have you. It was literally the limitation of blending that line between blue and red that they couldn't get right for years and years and years. And that's why it took forever. But and that's what I love about producing products, right? Like as frustrating as it can be, it's so gratifying when you finally hit it.
After all that hell, when you see it at the end. I mean, when I took after going through that really long process and getting that pin in my hand, I was like, smile. I mean, it'd been great to film. I was smiled and was like,
100%.
We did it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean, because I feel it all the time. Yeah. And when you get it right, it's like a feeling like no other. I mean, I played a lot of baseball. It's better than a home run. Yeah. It just is.
It's funny what you said about the material as well. So I always welcome feedback, and obviously I always hope it's not horrible, and it isn't normally, and it's constructive, and that's what I like. And a couple of people reached out to me and said, hey, love the pins. How come you did them in that material? How come you didn't 3D print them? You could have done them a lot cheaper and made more money. I was like, no. So this is why I feel like you don't know who I am, because I'm taking you to your bio on your Stan H Instagram page. Like, I like old things. You know, we collect old things, and we like buying vintage things. I like I have a lot of old pins from when I was a child. My father bought me, and they're metal, they're nickel, and I like that feeling. And when you hold them in your hand, they feel like something. And you know, we 3D printing, everything else, I love it. It's great, great technology, but it's not going to feel like holding that pin in your hand.
It goes back to the handwritten thank you note. Yeah. It's that feeling of old. Yes. It's the thing that nobody does anymore. No.
It's nostalgia, isn't it? Yeah.
It's nostalgic. I think it's romanticism. I think it's also...
Do you ever, and it's a bit of a more morbid thing, but I said this the other day and it came out wrong how I said it, but it was a little bit like, I won't be here forever, but when I'm not here and I've long gone, I'd like to think weirdly like, pins aren't the only thing I'm going to do. I'm doing lots of things, and they're coming out next year, but I would like to know that, imagine that these 50 white pins will be scattered all over the world and last a very, very long time. They're metal, they should. Sure. And if they patina, I'm all right with that as well, because patina Porsches are cool. So,
I think that would be really interesting to see how that's going to patina, even the white specifically. Yeah. To see if will it yellow? Will it not yellow? Can you crack any of it? Will it not crack? Kind of like a dented bumper. Let me know. You know what I mean? So
don't start me on paint. So
that's all the conversation.
The Pantones and the Pantone charts and the lights, so they're meant to match the real car, all that kind of stuff. So that thing, go back to your t-shirt really, that we both go quite deep.
Well, and the devil is in the details, right? Yes. And so there's so many products out there. I think like Apple does this well, where like you look at it and it's aesthetically pleasing and you can't exactly know why. Yes. Like those are some of my favorite products. Like the things that solicit a double take, like i.e. my logo. Like I get so many double takes, people staring at my hat because because they're not looking at my eyes.
It's so clean. Like,
well, there's that. Sure.
I just like how, it's very clean aesthetic. I really like, it's like that Apple feeling. You know what I mean? It's clean. It's not minimal. It's not busy.
Yeah, I like them. I wanted it to be minimal, which I didn't even design it really. I mean, it was just the shift gate pattern, right? So like, but what I do like about it personally is that it is minimal. it's timeless, right? It's not going to change. But then it is a throwback as well. So people are like, oh my God, I know that from somewhere.
Do you think you'll ever tweak it? So when I...
Like change colors or something?
Yeah, so like, I mean, I did a post recently on my wheels, and I showed the how far the logo had gone over like, you know, so many years, and it changed colours, got a little bit bigger, smaller, and whatever else. I mean, I haven't even thought that far ahead with my own logo. But do you think
you're referring to the Porsche logo?
No, I mean, I was talking to like more like HRE Wheels logos.
Right.
Their companies. It's been around a while, and their logo's changed a lot. Will my logo change? Will your logo change? I mean, I don't know, but.
Well, you know, I think about this often too. Like I mentioned Quicksilver earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Like they have that iconic logo of the mountain with the wave crashing over it.
Yes.
But over the years and the decades, some of them are a little hand drawn.
Yeah.
Some of them are perfect. And then the font of Quicksilver, if I recall correctly, like back in the 80s, or at least it was predominantly when I was a kid, it was usually in all caps and like a sans serif font and kind of a bold type of lettering to it, so thick. And same with Standard H. It's like it's got like the Standard H font, which is Bell Gothic Standard black, and then Bell Gothic Standard bold, I think is what it is. And again, Andrew, my old roommate, selected that font, but then we kind of tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, make it yours.
We like messed with the knurling a little bit and stuff like that, but then when I did my dad hat, I was like, you know what? I don't want it to just say Standard H across the front. I was like, I want it like an old like typewriter, all lowercase, something small. So like I have changed with the font, like only one time really. As far as like the Standard H logo though, I mean the shift gate pattern is the shift gate pattern, you know, which also has been the bane of my existence because of that little S. And when you're doing certain print, like you can't print it but so small because the S will, especially in embroidery actually. Embroidery is the worst. Yeah. Because it'll end up either looking like a figure 8 or just a blob. So I was really, really restricted. Like it was extremely restricted from that perspective as to like how small I could make it. Yeah. Which is another benefit of not having things branded, because then there was one less concern. You know?
Interesting. And then, right, so we're going to do a project together, but we need to work that one out. Plan, so it's nearly the end of the year. And, next year, what have you got planned? So what is Standard H planning? There's things in the works. You know, we talked about it last year, didn't we? That it felt so difficult with the small team to try and do lots of things at once, but we've had to start growing the idea of spinning plates. Right. You've grown. I felt the growth over the year, which is great. And then, so next year, what are you planning? Can you tell us? Can you share some teasers?
Yeah, I mean, some teasers for sure. The XKSS was like a little Easter egg. I'll just leave that one there. More apparel.
Yes.
So different styles, growing the assortment is the goal.
I saw your stories the other day. Sort of the questions, always good to do.
Get some
feedback.
Yeah. So I didn't want to like bog people down necessarily with an email per se, or like a MailChimp kind of survey monkey or whatever it is.
But good to see what people want, because you're going to provide something that's needed.
Well, and I also shared the results, as you may recall, which I thought is important. Yeah. Because I think people should understand, like, well, I'm going to cast my vote out into the ether, and then I got to like sit and wait. And some might say, yeah, of course. But I'd rather people see like,
So, I wondered whether the answers were kind of like a bit of a teaser as well. That's going to be the answer.
I mean, I think to some degree it was meant to be that, for sure. That was conscious, but like I think it was also a function of, if you ever ask me why I've done something, I have the data to back it up. Call it a defense mechanism. But like, I also know that even some of the things I asked about, I've had in mind for ages.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. Just like time. maybe part of it's just asking for validation at that standpoint. Like, should I do that? Am I crazy for thinking that I want to do this? Yeah. And so what's interesting is I've developed these products over the last several years, and keep in mind, like, this has very much been a side hustle for me. having worked retail
Yeah.
until recently. So thank you for saying that you've witnessed the growth, because
Well, it's full time now. This is
yeah. So like the funny thing is that like, as I've grown and been able to, I guess, grown my attention to the business, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been able to dedicate more time towards it.
Yeah.
It really has been a, what I put in is what I get out. And it's a great feeling, because I've never spent more time on the brand than I have during COVID.
And there's nothing better than having the feedback of people buying things you've created.
Oh, for sure.
It's just so inspiring, isn't it?
I mean, talk about validation. And so on that note, I almost kind of drew the conclusion of like, you really do need to trust your gut.
Yes.
Because all the other stuff, like the chasing demand category, those are all the things that...
Do you know the demand category though? Do you find that, so say you had 5 products that are coming out next year,
Yeah.
Would you say that those 5 were to answer demands, or were those 5 partly answering demand, but really because you personally
For
wanted
next
to do?
year?
Yeah. Say do you personally? So I sometimes, a lot of the time, a bit selfish of me, I create something that I want to create because I like it. But it turns out, thankfully, other people like it as well. Thankfully.
Okay, so here's the roundabout answer to that is, people can sniff out bullshit.
Yes.
And so if it's coming from an earnest, honest place,
Okay, I get you.
consumers can sniff that out.
Yeah.
They already know that, oh, this isn't really the engineered by Damon way.
No.
Whereas if you build these pens, people are like, okay,
That was from his heart.
this is legit.
It's a story, isn't it?
And that's what the Avant Tee was.
I think everything you do has a reason like that, like a story.
Yeah, I mean, there's a place for a graphic T-shirt. There is, you know, like on a Saturday, I wear those with like my board shorts when I go to the beach and surf. You know what I mean?
I know I'm going to see you in a Mustang T-shirt. So.
The hand drawn Shelby. So the thing is, and actually I do. I mean, Shelby products are incredible. I mean, who are we kidding? But like, the thing is for me, the question was next year's, say, 5 products.
Yes.
Everything I do going forward has nothing to do with me trying to figure out demand. It's absolutely the visceral desire for me to create said product. Yes. That's where I'm at right now. And if people like it, amazing. If they hate it, everything can't be a win.
No.
You know what I mean? There can only be like one hero product, so to speak. Like you're only going to be known for something. I'm not sure that I've found the product yet that I'll be known for. It's kind of like a musician, right?
Yeah.
Who like, let's think of somebody modern, right? Or Led Zeppelin. I mean, I guess you'd say Stairway to Heaven's probably what they're best known for. But like, I don't know, just Aerosmith. That's a band that's had a lot of hits. What's their best song? You don't know, do you? You know, and especially with music, I think fashion's similar.
Yeah.
It's so subjective. Like, as another teaser asked if people wanted the Avant Tee in a long sleeve. Well, guess what? I'm wearing it right now. It's already been made.
This is the prototype.
Yeah, it's been made.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I'm wear testing it right now and have been. Oh,
it's going
by
good.
the way.
Looks good.
So maybe somebody's like, dude, I loved the Avant Tee, but I just don't care for the Avant long sleeve.
It's funny you say this, and to bring Ellen up again, she released, and you have to have a chat with her about this because you guys are clothing people. She not just clothing people, but they do clothing. And she released a top, and she said, why did I release the short one first? I should have done the long sleeve one. And
because of the season we're in?
I think so, but I think she meant to do it in the season. Everything took a bit longer with COVID and everything else. And I think maybe the timing changed. But now she's going to do the same one in a long sleeve. And it's like that thing where, yeah, when's the right time? What's the order? That kind of thing.
Well, I feel like that question historically would have made more sense during like a wholesale model, if that's your business model, because those stores are going to order those products a season in advance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So like, if anything, she's either ahead of the curve right now. So I'm an optimistic person, you know, I'm obviously optimistic enough to think that I could start a successful business. So you have to have some level of optimism. But like for me, I've kind of done away with that.
Yeah.
And this also sort of piggybacks on what I'm working on in the future. I would love to get some wholesale accounts So if any of you out there listening either own a store and or can refer me to one, I would love to stock it wherever you live. But I actually went into a very famous store here in LA several months ago, and they basically were like, we love the Avantis. And I was like, incredible. They're like, but we can't buy them right now. And I was like, okay, any other feedback you can give me? They're like, well, really, it isn't about the product or our ability to buy the product. It's, we want to see more from you. We want to see more of a collection. So
to collaborate with you, they need to see. Yeah.
To carry my line, they want a larger story, basically. And so that is a major component of what I'm going to try to be working on this next year is creating more of what I've been wanting to create. Like I've said this before, like the Avanti is the type of product that I've wanted to do since day one and just haven't until the last 2 years.
Do you keep one of everything?
Oh, for sure. Well, some of them I keep, but I end up wearing them.
Do you
like
keep
all
one,
my hats and stuff?
So I can, yeah, I mean you have to because you're kind of marketing them. But I've been keeping one of everything, just one, and kind of like
with my shift knob and stuff like that. Like in my office, frankly, I have all the prototypes and the final one, which is kind of cool. But every time I look at them, I have an aneurysm. So. There's like one of those things, but here's another little tidbit, which maybe I'll edit this out. I'm not sure, but I'm actually going to be shooting a video that's like kind of a story of Standard H.
Oh, nice.
Kind of a day in the life type of thing, just for the website. I'm going to be doing that.
I think I'm glad we did this because I like what you're doing and I want people to appreciate what you're doing and appreciate how far you take things and like, you know, the detail and everything else. I mean, we joke about the Amazon box, but it's a lot more than just putting a Standard H name on something else. You're creating these things from your own head and making them into real things, you know, and great job.
Right. Thanks, man. No, I mean, it was super fun. I mean, I obviously I could talk about this stuff like for hours and hours and hours. So, you know, maybe we'll have to do a part 2. You need a part 2. I need a part 2. And what's funny is like, I'm like nearing the end of this season. So I don't know if I should just like, I don't know, maybe I'll drop this episode like on Christmas Day or something like that.
That'd
just
be
like
fun.
As like a random episode.
Yeah. It'd be good.
Or I could just like start doing this at the end of every season. Just call up Damon, say, ask me some questions.
Let's do it. Yeah. I just think it's good as well because, you know, I have no idea what you're doing next year and I do now, but I had no idea. And I feel like, people will want, I mean, I know people can subscribe and they'll find out a few more bits, but I kind of like, but you know,
you meant the email list.
Yeah. But hearing you talk about like plans and see that things are going well, I think people like hearing that. I know I do.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. Man. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing this.
It's been good.
Super fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to go have a beer. Cheers, man.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that to some degree. It was definitely fun to do. Thank you again to Damon for actually being willing to interview me, let alone expressing any interest to do so. Really appreciate it, man. And again, if you guys want more content like this, I'm happy to do it. I just didn't know whether or not it's something you'd be interested in. DM me on Instagram or feel free to email me at info@standard-h.com and just put, I don't know, anything in the subject line like more of this, please, or, you know, anything like that. It's all good. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for what will be the last episode of season 5. Thanks so much.